in the wild, I encountered something that, I mean, it was just like perfect. You know, sometimes like when you think of something, you talk about something and it manifests itself in the real world. I'm at one of my favorite restaurants, sitting at the bar, blazed out of my mind. This couple sits next to me. She was American. He was French. How do I know that? Because they started talking to me and she said she was from Ohio and he said he was from Paris. Anyways, so they're kind of like munching on things. And I overhear her say to him, oh, this dish right here it's good, but there's nothing special about it. So I was like, okay, so where's this going, right? So then he says to her, okay, right? Well, I mean, what else can you say? And she goes, no, you know what? I'm going to get this replaced. I want to do the octopus instead. And he was like, I don't understand how that would work. I mean, what do you mean? You're eating it. You said it's good. The dude said exactly what I would have said. So then a food runner comes and brings them another dish. And then, of course, she hits the food runner with the whole, I don't like this and that. And the food runner was super sweet. Was like, no problem. Oh, you want to do the octopus instead? Of course, let me take this away. I'll let your server know. She says to him, you see? I told you. It's no problem. I took care of it. And he was like, wow, I had no idea. Right? Yo, listen, in the real world, I've never, like, I don't ever, like, say, ugh, like, UGH, ugh. Like, for real? Like, I'll do it, like, jokingly. But I've never, like, very rarely sincerely been like, ugh. Dude, it just came out of me. Like, involuntarily. I was just like, ugh. Like, how sneaky and, like, conniving can you be? Right? So what I hope is that this episode helps me recover emotionally from that. So please, let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
Good luck with that.
Please.
Welcome to the Fancy Bread Podcast, where we talk all things restaurants. I'm one of your hosts, Adrian.
I'm your other host, Ed.
And today we're talking about returning items in a restaurant. When is it okay? When is it not? How to go about it? What happens to the restaurant when you do it? And obviously, how that makes you look.
Before we get into that, I'd like to say a couple of things. I love the fact that in Miami right now, we are in the middle of the 6 days that it's cool. It's fantastic temperatures, right? And I like that we're sitting here like next to each other. Now I can touch you and stuff. Right? Go ahead. I'm with you.
I'm glad that it has the right amount of space for me to.
I like this. It's intimate. It's more intimate now.
All right, so let's talk about this. Do you think it's okay for guests to do that? Exactly what you said.
Like what I said
the example
for my dinner?
that you gave. Do you think that's okay?
Hell no. Hell no.
Absolutely.
There's no way.
Now, why do you think
There's no way
that we allow that here in the United States? Because for my research I've done, asking people that served overseas in Europe, South America, that doesn't happen there.
Right.
That's an American thing.
Yeah.
So what do you think that is?
I think a lot of it has to do with the foundation of the concept of that the customer is always right. And what a lot of people don't realize is that started like in the early 1900s in retail, right? So, I mean, you can insert your example here, but the template of realizing that something that was established a long time ago no longer has merit in the modern world is a real thing. So it may or may not have been true back then. And even back then, there's cases of research where people have realized that giving that customer that concept creates entitlement. And sometimes it'll create situations where customers will be, unreasonably angry or, cross with retail, even if they're wrong. So even back then, there's examples of it not working. But today, it definitely doesn't work because that same entitlement that it gives people is one aspect of why it's negative. But on the flip side of that, I'll admit, I've been conditioned to be waiting on someone. And the moment they show dissatisfaction with something, my immediate thought is, we have to take this off the table. Let's get them something else. There's no way they're going to pay for this. Mm-hmm. So it's not so simple. It's not so simple as to say that, the guests in a restaurant or just the person who is buying something has been put in a position where of entitlement, whether it be, warranted or not. It's also the fact that through that philosophy, the people who are offering the goods, be, us in a restaurant or whatever it might be, have been conditioned to almost like revere or like have nightmares about upsetting a guest or a customer because they're dissatisfied with something. Yeah. I don't think it's right.
I mean, it comes down also to the fact that in order to do so, depending on the attitude that the guests take, you also have to get in confrontation with a guest.
It's necessary.
Or also even have to involve management.
Yeah, 100%.
And most times the guests do what you just said. Management just don't want to deal with it. They're like, we don't want to have to argue with every customer that comes through the door. Right. And then also because as we know, statistically, people that don't like something, they will tell about 10 people. And most restaurants, most places don't want people to go about telling others that, hey, I didn't like this place because they didn't treat me like the queen or king that I am.
Much less so than people who have a good time.
So it does come down to that entitlement that we have set up here in the United States.
Yeah.
Because in Europe, the birthplace of service, where service is renowned for its quality, right, and elegance. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. I spoke to people that have served in France, and they say, no, it doesn't happen. You order something, unless it's done wrong, which we're going to go into when to do it, when not 100%. To do it. They're like, that's it. This person told me the story about when he recently went to Italy. Said he went to a nice little restaurant, and his wife ordered the Benzino. Mm-hmm. Now, in the waters of Italy, they tend to be a little bit more salt in the water. So the smell of the fish, it's slightly different.
It was more pungent.
It's more pungent, more fishy, as some would say.
Oceanic is the culinary term.
Thank you. As soon as the dish arrived, and his as well, he ordered some shrimp. His wife goes to say, oh, I don't like the way it smells. This doesn't smell fresh. Mm-hmm. She tells the server, I don't want this. I'll have the salmon instead. A couple of minutes later, chef comes back with the Benzino and says to them, what's wrong with the Benzino? Oh, it smells fishy, she said. Right, because she didn't use the term oceanic. Right. And the chef said to her, oh, well, you disrespected me. I fished this with my son 4 a.m. this morning. There's nothing wrong with this fish. You want something else? You get something else. Right. He put the fish down on the table. Yeah. The person I know, he ended up ordering the salmon for the lady, and he ended up eating his. And
it was probably delicious.
Benzino.
And it was probably delicious.
It was delicious.
Dude, some of the most ruthless servers I know are Parisians. Dude, they don't give a shit. They don't care. I've seen a situation where even me trying to be gangster, they'll be like, no, I don't give a shit. That's staying on that table. I mean, it's the truth. It's like, I used to work at a restaurant where the original concept was the concept of taking things away when guests showed dissatisfaction. But then we got a new GM who was Dutch, and he and the Italian executive chef kind of like linked, and they were like, no, we're doing it like old school back home. Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said, again, the issue isn't one-sided. It's both sides. It's the industry and it's the consumer. Correct. We've been conditioned horribly. Everybody that wasn't used to it, me included, it was uncomfortable. So you're saying that the new concept was the guest orders a dish. It's described to them. They like the sound of it. They order it. It comes to the table. Then they call you over 5 minutes later. They go, oh, this is, I don't like this. Well, why don't you like it? Oh, I don't know. I just don't like it. It's not what I thought it was going to be. Okay. Well, let me box it up for you and leave it on your table. That concept was horrifying to me. Horrifying. But then when I started understanding it, listen, here's a revolutionary concept. I describe a dish to you. I describe that it has this flavor, this texture, this color, these ingredients. Yeah. It comes to your table because you like the sound of it, and it has exactly everything that I described, exactly as advertised. If you try that dish and you don't like it, you're paying for that dish. That dish is yours. Yeah. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I spieling a 10-year-old? No, you're a grown person. You made your own decision. I didn't coerce you into ordering a dish. Man the fuck up. You ordered a dish. It's yours. That's it.
On the information that I was able to capture is that restaurants in Europe or in those countries,
Right.
they tend to prioritize the knowledge and the expertise of the chef.
Right.
So unless the dish is done wrong, you're paying for the dish.
Right.
But again, it comes down to how we have conditioned the American culture
Yeah.
to do so.
It's terrible.
And it comes down to the rules of the house.
Yeah.
If the restaurant that you go to, that's the way that they play, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, you can always just go somewhere else.
Do you think that if a restaurant implemented a strict policy in that way, do you think they would succeed?
As long as the food is good and the vibe is good and the service is good, yeah.
100%.
I don't see why not.
100%.
However, if those things are not good, then I understand why some places would want to do anything they can to make sure that their customers comes back.
So I think, and we'll get more into the details, my feeling about this in the long term
Yeah.
is basically just accountability. Okay? So I think implementing a system where you encourage guests to understand that you've come here to taste and experience the vibe of this chef, of this restaurant, of this food genre. This is the dish we have on our menu. This is the dish that came to your table, and it was prepared to spec. It's perfectly edible. All the ingredients are fresh. That is how that dish is meant to be. And if you don't like it, consider it a learning experience. Come back because you liked almost everything else. Just don't order that dish the next time. But the thing about accountability that I like in that circumstance is, in the long run, it'll improve everything. Because if you, as a smart business owner, because it's not just, oh, you didn't like it, fuck you. No, that's not what it's about. What I feel it's about is, in the future, in the short-term future, and hopefully the long-term future, restaurants improving in every single way.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to enforce a policy like that, then what does that mean? That means that I need to ensure the consistency and the quality of my food. It means that every aspect of the front of house needs to be improved and it needs to be consistent.
Yeah.
That means you do away with servers who are order takers. That means every server that's on that floor that's talking to a guest about food needs to know what the fuck they're doing. Every bartender or every person that works behind a bar who's in charge of making drinks needs to be consistent, needs to know what they're doing. Because you need to create a scenario where you're telling guests, you might not like this, and I get it, but everything that has come to this table, be it a drink, be it the service, be it the verbiage, is quality.
Well, I gotta say, that sounds like a very dream scenario, my brother. Because nowadays, just to staff a restaurant,
Right.
is tough. So just remember,
There's some real world
the whole
limitations.
world is understaffed. Be kind to those who show up. Now let's break it into
Right.
some scenarios, right? Let's say which is right, which is
Go ahead.
wrong, how to go about it, right?
Fire away.
Let's throw some in there.
Fire away.
Number one, if the dish was done wrong, yes,
Give me an example.
but we'll give an example. It was overcooked,
A piece of meat.
correct? If I ask for a steak mid-rare and you bring it to me mid-well, should you take it back?
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%.
Now, let's say a steak was undercooked. Should you take it back?
You can get it cooked a little more. Yes, no problem.
You get it bumped up. You
No
inform
problem.
your server, it gets bumped up. Not an issue.
Hold on, though. Asterisk there. What if a guest wants to do a new steak? What if it's a situation where you ask for medium, the steak comes medium rare, there's no doubt about it. It's undercooked. We're so sorry. Let me get this, let me bump this up for you. That's not the soigné term, but whatever. No. I want a new steak. What happens then?
That is not right.
Because this is the philosophy we're in.
Yeah.
What happens then? What do?
You inform a manager immediately.
I would, it's because I think it's totally okay. Because again, part of the philosophy that's ruined dining for this specific, idea is that you have to know when to push and you have to know when to give. I feel like in these circumstances, the servers, the restaurant doesn't push enough. And it's not about, to hell with the diner. We don't push enough in a sense of creating an atmosphere and a culture of making people respect food.
Yeah.
So like if you ordered your steak medium and it came out medium rare, there's no issue from a sanitary perspective, from a culinary perspective, from a dining quality perspective, for us to take that meat back, put it on the grill for fucking 2 minutes and bring it back out to you.
Yeah.
There's no problem. The steak is going to be delicious. So if somebody says, no, I want a new steak, I'll be like, okay, so let me box up this steak for you and I'll get that steak going for you. If they respond to that in a negative way because I've already done everything I can, then I get a manager involved. Which brings me to another point, go back to an original point you made.
Yeah.
Here's a little disclaimer. If you sit down to eat and you don't like something and we take it away, most of the time it has nothing to do with the fact that we're being hospitable. Most of the time it's because we don't want to hear your mouth and we just want to go home, so we'll do it for you. Just remember that. Just letting you know, it's the truth. It's like, I wouldn't even say what percentage. Okay. So if somebody sends a steak back and we, the whole thing, we take it away, we comp it. What percentage is hospitality? What percentage is, I just don't want to deal with this shit?
I think it's actually like 50-50.
You think it's 50-50? I say it's like 60, I don't want to deal with this shit, 40% hospitality. Especially if it's late at night.
Oh, it keeps shaking.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear you. It keeps going up.
So the later it gets, the more it goes towards, I just want to go home, and the less it is hospitality. Let's be honest. It's true.
You know what? You put a good point, because I imagine that even if as the night begins, Amanda will be like, I just don't want to deal with this. Just come.
Dude, you hear it all the time.
It's too early to deal with this.
Managers out there, be honest. How many times have you said a version of, I just don't want to deal with this shit. Let's just go home.
I even heard a manager said that for them to go to the table is to acknowledge that something was wrong and they actually have to do something about it.
Exactly.
So that's why sometimes we are empowered to make decisions in our own.
That's right.
It all depends, of course, on the restaurant that you work in and the trust that your manager has with you to say, I trust that they'll make the right decision.
Right.
So in a way, sometimes servers are also managers as well.
Yeah, we manage our own sections depending on, exactly like you said, depending on the restaurant style, servers or captains, depending on the dynamic of the team, they are given that position. We do make more money because we have to deal with a lot of those responsibilities, those sort of nuanced difficulties of dealing with guests.
So since we're on the terms of cooking,
holla at me.
How about when you order a well-done steak and then you complain that it's burnt?
Fuck you. That's what I say. That's what I say. Right? That's a you live by the sword, you die by the sword scenario. I love that. Oh, I want it well done, but I don't want it burnt. What the hell are we talking about? What are we talking about here? No. If somebody orders a well done steak and they feel like it's too has too much of like a carbon, smoky vibe, hey, it is what it is. I try to help people. Someone's like, lamb is infamously worse the more you cook it. Well done lamb has a tendency to be very dry. Mm-hmm. So I'll always try to help people, depending on what time it is. Remember that.
Of course.
I'll always try to help people. Oh, I'll have my lamb well done. I'll be like, listen, lamb has a tendency, blah, 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 blah. I'll say it in a cute way, and they'll be like, fine, I'll try it mid-well. Good. But if you like your stuff well done, you have to know you're living in a realm where you're playing with fire. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Right? So no, that person likes their steak well done. Have at it. You think it's overcooked. You think it's burnt. I'm sorry. That's your problem. That's not
well
mine.
done. Yeah.
It's well done.
That's
dude.
what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I saw on Reddit that a lot of people say if you like your steak well done, order it mid-well and then have it bumped up.
Like that's the plan?
That's a plan.
So let me get this straight. The plan in that case would be to get a steak to come to your table, but already have it preordained that you're going to send it back.
That you're going to send it back and do that. And now,
whoever that Reddit user is, go fuck yourself, bro. Yeah. You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Also, another thing that people do is they will, when they want to split things, because obviously a restaurant will not cook half a steak one temperature and half a steak another temperature. They will order it at the lesser temperature, like they say mid-rare. Then when the steak comes to the table, they'll cut it in half and ask to have that part cooked up to medium or mid well.
Well, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's not so bad. That's a classic selling technique. If I have a large steak that I know people are going to love, but you know, it's a little on the pricier side, and then I have conflicting temperature preferences, I think that's normal. That's not so bad. If I have one person who likes it mid-well, one person who likes it mid-rare, oh, how can we share that steak? I like mine this way, she likes hers that way. No problem.
Yeah.
I'll bring it to the table mid-rare. It's sliced to share. We'll take some pieces back and cook it for her. It's no problem.
Yeah.
That always gets them. They're like, the fact that they don't understand that that's possible is kind of iffy. But in a place where you have family style large steaks that are sliced to share, that's no problem. But if you have like a classic steakhouse experience where we have like an a la carte 10, 8, 12 ounce steak for one, and they like already have their plan to do that, that's kind of iffy.
And let's go with another reason. Too salty.
Oh, that's a send back.
Yeah. That's simple. It's too salty. Can we please have another one? Or have it remade?
That's a send back.
Absolutely. Spice levels. If I ask for it mild, then it comes hot.
Well, you see, there's some dishes there's some things in the culinary world that are polarizing. And I think if you're not proactive enough to understand that spice is something
It's very subjective.
It's very subjective, and you don't give people a disclaimer, I think it's your fault. So if a dish comes to a table and somebody thinks it's spicy and they weren't told that it's spicy, I think that's a send back.
Okay.
I think that's a send back.
But what if I ask for a curry and they ask me how would I like it? If I want it mild, hot, and I said I want it mild.
And it comes spicy?
And it comes spicy.
That's a send back.
That's a send back.
But you see, because the foundation here is if it's prepared correctly, right? So let's just use a raw, simple example. You ask for a steak. It's cooked how it's supposed to be cooked. And you say you don't like it. What happens then?
Well, that's a you problem.
Exactly. You see, if it's prepared correctly, then the ball is in the guest's court. At that point, we've got nothing to do with it, other than the fact that we hope you enjoy it. We hope that it, brings you back. We hope that you talk about it.
Speaking about preparation, how about when it's not prepared, how it says on the menu or how it's described? For example, you order a baked chicken, but it comes with grill marks. It clearly tells you that they grilled the thing instead of
Or maybe they
baking it.
grilled it and then they baked it.
Maybe. How about that? If they make something like that, or let's say you order a salad and it doesn't say anywhere on the menu that it has avocado and tomatoes, but then it comes with avocado and tomatoes. Is that a sendback?
What if you're allergic to avocado
Well, that's a different thing.
and you didn't say you were allergic to avocado because the dish doesn't say it had avocado?
Oh, that's a different sendback.
Right. Going back to the customer is always right. So see, something that people need to understand is that information in a restaurant is never symmetrical. Never. What do I mean by that? Look at a menu, for example. A dish has 20 things in it.
Yeah.
You're never going to put that the dish has 20 things in it. You're going to put
3.
the 3 or 4 sexy things, and that's it. Yeah. It's the responsibility of the staff to know those things, to be able to guide you, to be able to, be cautious of allergies. So if I know that you're allergic to something, obviously I'm going to be informed and I'm going to be able to cater that dish or alter it in a safe way. But dude, if a dish comes to a table and it has things that aren't on there and they aren't like an allergy or something and you don't like it, that's still your problem.
Yeah.
That's still your problem.
Let's bring it to the next one. Allergies that people forgot or didn't disclose. A dish comes to the table and I'm allergic to shrimp. And it said so on the menu that the item has shrimp. It comes with shrimp and you're like,
You didn't read?
I don't eat shrimp.
You didn't read it.
Yeah.
It's printed. It's printed?
Yeah.
That's yours. That's yours.
Well, this one had a big debate online because if it's a dish that can harm you, then it should be taken off. And
Well, let's box it up and you give it to a friend.
And the other half of this debate was saying, if you order it and it has something that you either don't like or have an allergy, that's where the line gets blurred, then you give it to everybody else on the table because you order it.
Right.
Right? So people need to be a little bit more accountable to the decisions that they make and how they go about it.
That's my point.
The whole point is, if the restaurant made wrong in preparing a dish, then yes, it should be taken back. But if the restaurant did well in preparing that dish and you don't like it, then you should be accountable for it. Now, here's another one. When something's in your food that shouldn't be there.
Give me an example.
A Band-Aid, hair.
That's gross.
A bug. It happens.
That's gross.
Obviously, yes, it's a setback.
Okay, so look. So how do you personally feel about finding a hair in your food?
I don't care.
Dude, I don't care.
I don't.
Does that make me disgusting? Maybe.
Maybe a little.
But I don't care.
Yeah.
It also depends. Because if you eat a dish and at the very end of it you find a hair, who cares, dude? Also, if I'm like chilling and the vibe is really nice and I get a salad or something, whatever it comes to the table, and I see a little hair in it, dude, 99% of the time, I'm going to grab that hair, go like this, and eat my food.
Yeah.
Dude.
But everybody has different growth levels.
Right.
It happens.
It's true.
Like
I'd like
there's
to
always-
know. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Very simple question. If you find a hair in your food, are you grabbing it and flicking it and eating, or are you sending the dish back? I'd love to know what people think
Yeah.
about that.
Please, let us
I'd
know.
love to know what people think. I don't care.
Are we being gross?
I don't care.
A little bit?
I don't care, dude. Whatever.
Put it down there. Let's see.
I don't care. It is what it is.
However, sometimes there are things in dishes that aren't necessarily an issue or something foreign. This restaurant I used to work in had a crab dish.
Sounds good already.
And obviously they take the crab meat and they take that off, they clean it, and they put it on the dish. But crabs have these tendon-like parts that look like plastic
Yeah.
and feel like plastic on
Right,
the mouth. Obviously,
right.
these are not parts that you're intended to eat, but sometimes they get in there on the dish. And I had guests where they were like, "There's a piece of plastic on my dish," and I was like, "Miss or sir, it's not a piece of plastic. That's actually part of the crab.
Right.
That part is not an edible part of it. Unfortunately, it just got there." And it was tough because you had to educate guests into something that is not actually foreign. It's not meant to be eaten,
Right.
but it's not foreign to the dish.
Educating a guest who's disgusted and upset. That's tough. That's a tough hill to climb.
That can be tough. But in that case, it would depend on how they would take it. That obviously, you will have to inform a manager, and the manager ultimately makes a decision because you can only do so much. Ultimately, the management has to take the decision.
Yeah. You know what I love? Like a little shining light in this scenario are the people who, and you hear this all the time. It's not that rare. It's almost like even if you weren't going to take the dish away, it almost makes you feel like doing it because they're so nice. When people just hit you with the, "Oh, I'll pay for this. It's no problem." But can I get, like, at that point, it's like, okay.
It's all about the attitude, man.
It's all about the attitude.
It's all about your attitude.
It's all about the attitude. Oh, these mushrooms, and listen, they're fine. I'll pay for them. It's no problem. But can I get mashed potatoes instead? It's almost like, dude, you know what? Fuck it. I'll take those mushrooms.
How about this one? When you ordered wine, a bottle, you taste it and you don't like it.
That also depends on the vibe. I mean, with a lot of charisma and a good attitude, you can get away with a lot. And I've seen situations where a som will open a bottle and a guest will be like, "No, it's not corked, but it's not for me." They'll throw it at the bar. We'll do a special where we'll have
By the glass.
an expensive bottle by the glass, and it always sells, which is why it's normal to happen. In other situations, if you agree that the wine isn't corked, it doesn't have any defects, that wine is yours, dude.
Yeah.
I love when people will be like, "Oh, can I get a taste?" I'm like, "Yeah, you get the whole bottle. You're not. What are you talking about? Can I get a taste of this $400 bottle of wine? What the? What planet do you live on? Where do you do this? Where do you do this?" I took care of a lovely group of people the other day, and this girl was saying that, "Is the blue cheese and the olives fresh?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "Well, Where I go eat at this restaurant back home, they stuff the blue cheese. They stuff the blue cheese into the olives before every shift. I was like, listen, I would love to see where this restaurant's at. There's no fucking way that's happening in a high volume restaurant. No way.
I've seen that done.
Oh my God, man. Get the fuck out of here, man.
But it's not something that is common.
Hell
no.
no.
It is not common.
Saying something is not common is like saying it happens 1 out of every 10 times. This is like less than that. There's no way. There's less than 1% of restaurants are freshly stuffing blue cheese into olives for cocktails. It's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to happen.
It's very, 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 very.
Come
very
on,
rare.
man. That's just dumb. That doesn't make any sense. I'll fuck a blue cheese olive up, though. Those are really good.
So what would be the proper way to go about changing a dish in a restaurant? Well, it all comes down to attitude and timing. Now, let's say a dish comes to your table. You tasted it and you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
When do you say that you don't like it and you ask for a change?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Now, here's what you don't do. You don't eat half your dish and then say, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
If you had more than, and that's why it's very important that what we servers do, or the good ones, is 2 minutes, 2 bites.
Yeah, that's a rule.
It's a rule. It's very important. So we do this.
It's a rule of the industry.
This is the particular moment that if we go to your table and we ask you, how's the temperature in your steak? How are your sides? You be very specific. Remember, don't be like, how's everything going? No. How's your steak? How's the sides? How's the dish? I recommend it. Please enjoy.
How are your main courses? How are your appetizers?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the point that the server is giving you the opportunity for you to say everything's good. Past that moment, if you continue eating your dish and you don't like it,
It's the point of no return after that.
it's kind of like the point of no return.
That's it.
That's why we have that rule.
It's the point of no return.
Because this is a point for you to say, excuse me, this is a little too salty. Excuse me, this is too spicy. I apologize, but this is not for me. Can I please have it changed with something else?
Yeah.
That's the point. Not when you're halfway done with it. That's considered very rude.
So again, yes, 2 minutes, 2 bites generally means in a good aspect of your steps of service, of taking care of people, you give them 2 bites of their food or 2 minutes generally to go and speak to them and gauge their satisfaction. Now, do you always do 2 minutes, 2 bites?
Always.
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 There's never been a time where you haven't done 2 minutes. That's what I'm asking.
I mean,
you.
it happens, yes.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
Do you always do 2 minutes, 2 bites?
Most of the time. Let's say a large percentage.
What percentage?
Of times.
What percentage out of 100?
I would say about 80 to 90.
So there's 10% of people that you don't 2 minute to bite.
Depends.
I would say, yeah, I would say I'm at like 75%. 75%.
But know that as a customer, you can always flag a server. You can always raise
That was
your
my
hand,
next point.
Call someone.
That was my next point.
Ask for your server.
Yeah.
Ask anyone. You know, and how do you go about it? Obviously, well, you always want to be kind and be
Right.
polite. Don't be rude. Don't be engaging. Don't be confrontational. It won't get you anywhere. So the first rule is be polite, be kind. Secondly, have a reason. Don't just be like, I don't like
it.
That
Why
is-
don't you like it? I don't know. I just don't like it.
Exactly.
A technique you could use as a server is if a guest says they don't like something and you don't want to be too confrontational, I don't care. But if you do, you could be like, oh, what would you like me to tell the chef? Oh, you don't like these? Okay.
I like that one.
My chef would like to hear about it. What would you like me to tell them? Then at least that takes you out of the equation as the person to be angry towards, and then you could talk to your chef about it. If something is actually wrong. If it's not, then don't be afraid to ask a guest, listen, why don't you like it? I get it. It's not easy. Again, we are socially conditioned at this point. But it's totally fine to say, why? Why don't you like it? Because then if you realize that a person is just saying they don't like something because they don't like it, that's not enough. That's not enough. Did it come out cold? Is it too spicy? Is it too salty? Is it lacking in flavor? Whatever. Even if it's unreasonable, an unreasonable reason is better than no reason.
Yeah. But also, it's important for management to inform their staff and establish those rules.
Yeah.
It says, these are the reasons in which we will take a dish back, and these are the reasons in which we will not take a dish back.
Right.
And this is how you should go about it. These are the questions you should ask the guests. For example, that was an excellent question that you said there. Like,
Thank you.
What would you like me to tell the chef?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent. I was going to say,
that.
good point. So
Thank you.
we agree on something.
Thank you so
There
much.
go. Because if you don't have a specific reason, you should keep the dish. And here's one that happens a lot in restaurants. When guests order something, they have no idea what it is. If you're stepping out of your comfort zone to try something and you don't like it, that's a you problem.
Think of it as like growing.
Yeah.
You're expanding your palate. You know, you don't like it. Now you know not to order it again.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine. That's
But
a
it's-
learning experience.
But it's not a tasting. It's not like you go to an ice cream shop and be like, let me have one of each and then just walk out. It doesn't happen that way.
Right.
Some people forget to understand that a restaurant is a place that offers goods, but they offer goods through services. So when you're
A lot more
returning
than-
things,
a lot more than you think
you're
you
affecting
are.
the restaurants a lot more than you think you are.
I would love to live in a world where people respected the vision of a chef. And through good, mostly good, hopefully, and some bads, they would just take everything as a learning experience. But it's like anything, you know? Again, I hate to keep using the words, but we are socially conditioned to fear that confrontation of upsetting a guest because they don't like something. I don't think it's necessary. It's like anything. It's like BBLs. We live in a world where it's your body, you do whatever you want. But you'd be stupid to deny that the influence and reactions you get from your target audience don't affect your decisions, right? If a woman says, "Oh, I want to get a BBL because I want to feel sexy," God bless you. But don't act like if every man that existed today saw a woman with a BBL and was like, "Yo, you look like a candy apple. You look like you got a diaper in your fucking pants." If every man reacted that way, that there wouldn't be a decline in BBLs. It's true. Why do women expect drinks from men at bars? Because men buy women drinks at bars. If men stopped doing that, then women would stop expecting it. If you came in to eat at a restaurant and you were living in a world where if something was made perfectly and you don't like it, you're not getting that off of your check, then at first, you know, throughout that development, there's going to be some rocky situations. But I guarantee you eventually, it's just going to be normal. It's going to be tough getting there, but it's just going to be normal. It's going to be like, "Oh, I didn't like this. Box this up for me. I'll give this to my mom, or I'll give this to my friend who I know likes this kind of stuff." It'll all change. But it's going to be rough.
You went into a very important point there.
What, the BBLs?
No.
Oh.
The take it off the shack.
Right.
If you complain about not liking something and they don't take it off the shack, should you complain?
You can complain if you want.
Absolutely.
I think the percentage of people who ask for a dish, don't like it, and still see it on their check that are going to complain is very high. But some people will just take the L. Some people will be like, whatever. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
I don't think either one of those people is the outcome we're looking for.
Yeah.
Because the people who leave and say nothing get angry. They have some buyer's remorse.
And
Even
like
if they
don't wanna
enjoyed
go
some
back.
other things, they might not come back just because they're angry about that outcome. And then the people who are very vocal about it might not come back, but because they're you know, again, they're living in a world where that I hope we evolve from sooner or later. You know?
A world of entitlement.
Yeah, dude.
Well, yes, you can tell your server if your check comes and there was an item that you told them that you didn't like and your server took it away, then yes, perhaps the server forgot to take it off the bill. So you can always say, "Oh, the side dish is still there." And the server will take it off and do so. But if the restaurant is not going to take it off and your server explains that no, the dish is not going to be taken off the bill, then you pay for it, you take your loss, and if so, you don't come back. That's up to you, right? You always have the power to choose if you want to return to a restaurant or not. That's always on your side.
One of the good things about people who try things, don't like it in one bite, and they say, "Oh, I don't want this," is you feed the staff. Now that we talked about hair and food, what's your philosophy on eating from guests' plates?
It's not something that I do anymore, but I used to.
Why
My
don't
younger
you
years.
do it anymore?
I just don't. I'm more into fasting and taking care of myself, so that's why. But
Right. Okay.
let me tell you.
But you're talking about your.
But that's me now.
You're talking about your dining philosophy now.
Yeah, but before I would. And nowadays, you still see people. I call them the sharks.
The sharks.
When
Piranhas.
because there's some of you out there
Piranhas.
that as soon as to see that a customer is being vocal about they
Right.
not liking something,
Right.
and you grab
You can
that
see
dish
blood.
and
see
you grab
blood in
that
the
dish
water.
from the table.
There's blood in the
people
water.
are like,
I don't want you to say anything because I want people to understand that this question, you may not say what I think you're going to say, but if you do, I'm going to explode.
good.
What is the question that you get from a coworker when you have a dish of unfinished food and you're walking past them back to the kitchen? What is a question you get mostly?
You gonna eat that?
No. That's good. But
say that.
one of the questions, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, one of the questions you get most in that situation is a coworker will see the food heading back, walking past them as you have it in your hand, and they'll be like, "Is that to go?" Dude, because if that food is not to go, it's the dinner bell. Dinner bell is ringing.
You know what's hilarious when some are overly helpful and they're like,
Oh yeah.
they're like, let me take that back for you.
Yeah. there could be a fucking dude who is the laziest fucking guy in the restaurant. When that guy becomes active is when he realizes that there's food that's not going to be boxed up to go. All of a sudden, he comes out of nowhere. Oh, let me get that for you.
Let me help you out. Let me
get that for you. One of the greatest servers I ever worked with, I'm talking about a fucking monster of a server, said, listen, you can think anything you want about eating off of people's plates, but I mean, you'll eat ass. So you can't eat off of a plate? Like, come on, seriously? And then even back then, I was like, that's a good point.
Guy's got a point.
Here's another one for you. What if somebody spills a drink? But now let me give you two little scenarios.
Yeah.
Someone is like a little drunk and they're kind of obnoxious. And I don't care how professional you are. You can dislike somebody you're serving, bro. It happens.
All the time.
Somebody you're serving who you dislike is obnoxious. They spill a drink. Do they get a drink for free?
No.
They don't. Do you offer another drink?
Absolutely.
Or do you just bring the drink, assuming they would have wanted one, but you still charge them for both drinks?
So let me go about that. Again, it goes to the attitude that you take,
Right.
and how you go about it. If it's an accident, you immediately bring another drink. You split that one, it gets taken care of, but you still pay for the one drink. Period. If it was on our behalf that we spilled the drink,
of course,
we'll clear everything. We'll take that off,
That's
and
where
we'll
the-
bring you another drink, which we'll take care
of
of.
course. That's where the dry cleaning bills come in too.
Absolutely, yeah. Restaurants will take care of your dry cleaning bills.
They will.
if
They
it
will.
happens. The manager will give you a card, and we'll take care of your dry cleaning bill.
That's happened in some pretty sticky situations
Yeah,
too.
that has. Yeah,
Like where we work, some people come in with some expensive shit on, man.
Yeah.
Expensive stuff.
I've never had that to me
I've spilled
so far. Luckily, let me knock off.
I have worked at a table where we have spilled like the meat juice on like somebody's like furry white designer thing. But they didn't know. And of course, I didn't say a fucking thing. That's your problem. That's tu problema. I didn't say a word. Come on, man.
That's happened to me.
So you have done it. Well, you acting all righteous over here, bro.
No.
But you're fasting.
No.
I'm
Wait, no.
fasting,
With
and
the-
I only eat olive oil.
Would
and
they having to give someone a card
I
for
cold
dry cleaning?
plunge. I
That part.
cold plunge now. Motherfucker, you've done that shit. Come on.
Ain't gotten away with it.
Come down off your pedestal, bro. You've done it. Yeah. So if the person is a douchebag and they spill their drink, I'll clean it up and I'll send them another drink. But I'm not taking anything off the bill.
Correct.
Obviously, if we spill something, then of course, 99% of the time. I can't think of a scenario where somebody on our staff bumps into a drink, it spills, and the guest actually pays for that other drink. I can't think of one.
So let's go into how it affects the restaurant when you return a dish.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is simple: food cost.
Yeah.
Our restaurant, or any restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
sells food and liquor, sells goods. And these items cannot be given to anyone else once you return them. It's not like a shirt that you return or a pair of shoes that you return or a car or anything. It can't be resold. It can't be done anything with. So as soon as you return something, the restaurant is losing money.
Actually,
and the restaurant's margins of profits are very low. So you're truly affecting a restaurant. So if you like a place, you're really affecting it when you return a dish.
Actually, a lot of the clothes that people return, and they don't realize this, post-COVID, there has been a large increase in like shopping online.
Yeah.
So inevitably, there's also a large increase in returns. Those clothes, a lot of those clothes, most of them don't get resold. Most of them end up in landfills. You know that.
Yeah.
So point is, if you buy something and return it, even if there's some kind of infrastructure in place where that thing can be resold, which again is never the case in food, you're still negatively affecting something.
Yeah.
100%.
Second one that you're affecting is the chefs themselves. Now, I spoke to a couple of chefs about this, and they said chefs usually tend to be perfectionists. So when you go to the back of the house and tell a chef, hey, chef, they didn't like this dish, they want to know why. Because otherwise it'd be like, what did I do wrong? Did I prep it wrong? Did I push too much of this, too much of that? What's actually wrong with the dish?
Yeah.
Just making them feel bad. This is where your feedback, your honest feedback is very important. Because when we go back and we say, chef, it was too salty. It was overcooked. The chef will try to find where the problem is. What's going on with the dish? Is it because the person that's preparing is preparing it wrong and needs to make an adjustment? We're always striving to make the experience better for you.
Right.
So your honest feedback will inevitably make everyone else's experience better. You might actually pick on something. You might say, hey, I come here often and I always have the shrimp. And I've noticed that it doesn't taste the same today.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the chef, we let them know, and there might be actually something that they've been doing wrong that day, and they will correct it, and everybody else's experience will be better.
Right.
So when you do have an honest, positive feedback about it helps. But also when you have a negative feedback or you make some stuff up, it also affects the restaurant as well. For example, a dish might be taken off the menu if enough people complain about it.
It's true.
There are times, or there are certain dishes that one would say that you expect them or you assume that it would taste a certain way because almost everywhere you go, they prepare it about the same way.
Right.
And then you suddenly go to this new restaurant where they do something very avant-garde, very out of the ordinary, and they try to play with ingredients in some way. And when you had that dish, your expectations of it were not what you got. And if you don't like it and enough people complain about it, they will end up taking that dish off the menu. And it happens that a lot of people come to that restaurant because they do enjoy that. And when they take it off, they'll be like, where's this dish? Like, oh, we took it off because a lot of people complain about it. And that always sucks. Have you ever been to a restaurant that you enjoy a dish and they suddenly take it off?
I have been to a restaurant.
Do you go back?
Yeah, I'll go back because I say to myself, this is a restaurant that had a dish that I enjoyed so much, then with that same focus, I can go back and find something else. But it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy. I'll go. My favorite steakhouse in Miami right now, I go to because of their cream spinach. If you said to me, Ed, they don't have that cream spinach anymore, I might, it wouldn't be that serious. I'll probably lose a couple weeks of sleep. But that's it. Would I go back to that restaurant? Yes. Would I be happy at first? No. I wouldn't.
It's tough. It's tough. I would. There's this restaurant that I would go, I would say every Sunday. And I would have these delicious pulled pork sandwich. So good.
Yeah.
And one day I went there and they're like, we took it off the menu. People complain about it a lot.
You like that pulled pork sandwich better than the burger?
Yeah. The burger is delicious.
I like their
but
cubano.
I really enjoyed that sandwich. And unfortunately, they took it off the menu. Now, I do keep going back to the restaurant
and
try other things that they do have to offer, which are delicious as well. But I don't go there as often because that was the one dish that I would wake up at least once a week and I'll be like, today's that pulled pork sandwich day, And now it's just
you had a whole day. You had a holiday, or
I had a holiday every week. It's right there. So
Empathize.
that can happen if enough people complain about a dish.
I can empathize. Yeah, it's tough.
Another way that it affects, especially the cooks and the kitchen, is that you put a lot of pressure onto them. One thing that we servers have to do every time you complain about a dish, we have to explain why you didn't like the dish. When we say we take it off the bill, we have to put a reason as to why you didn't like it. It was overcooked, it was undercooked, it was too salty, it was too spicy, or just the guest didn't like it. We have to put those reasons. And when corporate sees that, they will ask the chefs and management to explain why, because that's money that the restaurant is losing. So they will ask for those reasons. And when enough people complain about a dish, whether it's the temperature, etc., corporate will come to the restaurant, sit down and eat, and ask for all those dishes that were apparently made wrong to make sure that the kitchen is doing them right. So you're putting a lot of pressure, unnecessarily sometimes, to a lot of people just because you want to get away with not paying for a dish.
Oh yeah, it's not because it's not so simple as like, oh, you have files on your computer and then you delete a file and then it ends up in this microscopic place that you never see again. There is a consequence to these actions if they're consistent enough. But it's like you said, it's like if you're constructive and if you're honest, if mushrooms go back to the kitchen because they're too salty and enough of them go back, then if it happens once, a chef might be like, okay, let's get another mushroom. But if it happens like twice, 3 times, then the chef's going to be like, yeah, you're putting too much salt on the goddamn mushrooms, dude. You know what I mean? Show me. Make a mushrooms for me. Like, there is no act of you sending food back without something being done about it. In the short term or the long term, in a good restaurant.
But it's also important that you as a server, when you take a dish off the table because of one of those reasons, it's important that you show it to your chef so that they can also make the proper adjustment. They will taste the mushrooms and say, too much salt. Or they're like, it's actually perfect. This person's crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to give this one to the customers.
Talk to me.
It's very important that you voice your opinion when you don't like something. And to the servers out there, it's very important that you acknowledge that when a guest is giving you a complaint about a dish, they're giving you an opportunity to fix an issue. Because the worst thing that a guest can do is not say anything and then go online and leave a bad review. These things really affect how the business attracts more customers or the credibility of the restaurant itself. So be more vocal, be more honest, be kind, and help the restaurant improve or grow. In the end, you're preventing the restaurant from fixing the issue, and you're preventing yourself from leaving that place happy.
So here's the thing. In the journey of getting to a place where stuff like this doesn't happen anymore, it's going to be tough. There's going to be a lot of friction along the way. But my hope is that eventually restaurants and lovers of restaurants get to an understanding where they respect the food, they respect the vision, and they trust the chef. So that's going to take 2 things. It's going to take the front of the house, the back of the house to really, really get it together, to improve, to always make sure that the consistency of the food is there, the quality of the food is constantly improving, so that we can create an environment where it's very rare that a guest would say they don't like something. And if a guest does say they don't like something or they feel that they don't like something, at the very least, they can understand that that representation of the dish is at its optimum. It's just that dish isn't for them. In which case, the restaurant has done everything possible to make sure that they're offering the best quality, and that dish just wasn't for you.
Well, like anything involving people, mistakes happen. And it's never really black and white. There's always a lot of gray in between. And it always will come down to how you go about it. It's be kind, be quick when telling your server what's wrong, and don't let something like a spilled drink ruin your night. I see a lot of people already saying in the comments, oh, the two of you have forgotten what hospitality is about. And to them I will say, yes, we are in the hospitality industry, but we also are in the business of hospitality. And that's our show. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And also, what do you think about people sending food back? In which of these scenarios do you agree with us and which ones you don't? Let us know in the comments below. Let's start the conversation. Thank you for listening.
Don't forget to tip.
And we look forward to hosting you again real soon.
Take care, everybody.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.